In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. This was the first day. On the second day, God created the firmament, separating the waters. On the third, he gathered the waters into seas and brought forth dry land, grass, and fruit trees. The fourth day, God made the sun, moon, and stars. The fifth day, he filled the waters with living creatures and the sky with birds. On the sixth day, God created the beasts of the earth. And finally, he said, "Let us make man in our image." So God created man from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. God planted a garden in Eden, and there he put the man he had formed, Adam. In the garden grew every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, including the tree of life, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God commanded Adam, "Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die." Then the Lord God said, "It is not good that the man should be alone." And he caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and from one of his ribs God made a woman, and brought her to the man. Adam said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman." And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field. He said to the woman, "Eve, has God indeed said, 'You shall not eat of every tree of the garden'?" Eve replied that they could eat from any tree except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, lest they die. The serpent said, "You will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." When Eve saw that the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. They heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and hid themselves. But God called to Adam, "Where are you?" Adam confessed that he had eaten the forbidden fruit. God then cursed the serpent, and to the woman he said he would greatly multiply her sorrow. To Adam he said, "Cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life." So the Lord God made tunics of skin for Adam and his wife, and clothed them. Then he said, "Behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever." Therefore the Lord God sent him out of the garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. He drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to guard the way to the tree of life.